Anatomy? What is that? It's like honestly the best thing you've ever seen in your life. A little bit fallish. Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to be showing you how to create this look. That started off, I was going to create a summer look, but I realized after that it ended up turning out looking a little bit more like fall. This is just what I came up with. Without the lip, it looks still quite summery. Then you have the lip and it looks like fall. So I apologize if you want it to look more summery, switch out the lip for a more like nude. Nonetheless, this is a step-by-step tutorial of how to create this look. And also along the way, I will be giving tips, product recommendations on how to keep your makeup wearing all day long. So if you want to find out how to create this look and my tips and tricks on how to keep your makeup lasting all day, then keep on watching. I have a mixture of high-end and drugstore products in here as well. If you want to see a full face of drugstore, I could most definitely do that. Like a lot of my faves are from the drugstore, so let me know what you think. If you want to see that, I will do so. Today, the first product is from the drugstore. It is called the L'Oreal Infallible Matte Lock. This is a mattifying primer. This one is one I actually tested in the last few months. I have not stopped using it. It's like my go-to right now. I absolutely love it. It's obviously cheap. It kind of has that creamy moisturizing feel, but super, super, super lightweight. So if you're oily or combination, it's not gonna feel greasy, but it does have something. So if you're, especially if you're combo, you're gonna get that like feeling of evenness, moisturization. It sets down pretty quickly and then you are left with a nice matte finish. Your foundation glides over beautifully. It does have some smoothing effects and it also really holds onto my makeup all day. It prevents shine. My makeup lasts longer when I wear this. I love it. So it's like a little squeezy tube so I can just like, you know what I mean? I don't know, for some reason it makes application just a little bit easier. With clean hands, I go in, so I make sure everything's even, really like massage it into the nose and across the lip. You wanna make sure everything's blended. I find that's an area that sometimes people, and me included, can forget to really blend, and there is a really big issue for me. It creases really easily. I really have to make sure the primer is like worked in, so not only it's gonna be in there to really like work and hold on to the makeup, but also if you have a buildup of primer or product there, it's gonna get cakey or creased or like not apply as nicely. So you wanna really work it into the skin. I also actually really love to apply eyeshadow primer underneath my eyes. I do this to prevent creasing. I have tried it a few times on the sides of my nose. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it actually can cause, you know, things to get a little bit cakey. So you have to find a really, really thin one, and you also have to apply really minimal product. Now, these are just tips from me. So if you have a certain way to do things, then please continue to do it. So I really like to press it into the skin there around the nose, because at least for me, that's where it creases, that's where it kind of starts to separate and break down. When I started doing this technique, and I did a whole video on it, I started using the Hourglass Veil eyeshadow primer. This is probably my favorite one for this technique. I also love it for eyeshadow primer. There's very few that I've found work for me because I've had issues with other ones where, again, as I said, it kind of makes the makeup look funny. I do actually like the Milani one as well. I find that's actually maybe a little bit of a dupe for the Hourglass. But I also have been really loving the Rare Beauty eyeshadow primer, not only for under the eyes, but for on the lids. So I love this, number one, because it's super thin, but it does have a little bit of a tint. So it's going to not only prevent creasing, but it actually also has a tiny bit of a, you know, tint to it. So it's gonna add a little bit of extra coverage. You also wanna, I forgot to mention, make sure your skin is prepped properly, you know, cleansed, toned, moisturized. If you have serums used in the morning, eye cream, I've already done all that. I have so many foundations I wanted to do. I have a lot of foundations that I've been loving lately, but I've actually started picking this one up again. And it's one that I think is a really good fit for today's video because I'm going for like, I don't know, I kind of want it to be glam, but not like really, really, really heavy, if that makes sense. It's kind of something that fits that perfectly. And it's one that I think that all of you would like, whether you like light coverage, whether you like full coverage, because this is a very versatile formula. It's the Dior Backstage Face and Body Foundation. It is an extremely beautiful foundation. It has a pretty matte finish, but it doesn't look dry. And I just think it really lasts all day. And I also think that if you apply a really light layer of it, you can get away with like a pretty light or at least a light medium coverage. And then if you build it, you can get to a high medium, maybe full coverage. You'd have to build it quite a bit, but it builds beautifully. This is the formula. As you can see, it's quite runny, but I really have been liking that lately. Super lightweight and super blendable into the skin. I've just been really enjoying that type of formula. So I'm actually gonna go in with a brush. Now, again, if you've watched my channel, you will know I'm a sponge girl all the way. I have been for a long time. Really, really love the way that my beauty blender blends my makeup, but recently I've been using brushes because I think it's quicker, it's easier, and it spreads it faster. You can apply it on the face faster. It builds the coverage quicker, and then I like to go in with the sponge after and just get that airbrush finish. I have this one, which is a little bit more affordable. It's the Sigma Flat Kabuki brush, which is the F80. As you can see, still has pretty good coverage, but you can shear it out, you know, if you went in with a lighter layer. It's a little bit light for me because I've gotten quite tanned this summer, so I'm gonna have to really bronze up the skin, but I really wanted to use the foundation still because it is, I think, one of the best foundations to recommend for the summer because it controls shine, like, you know, it's long wearing, but it also isn't drying. And it's also versatile in terms of coverage. So once you get the foundation applied, see how it looks streaky a little bit? It doesn't look perfect. I'm just gonna pick up the excess with my sponge. We're gonna go in and it's gonna look nice and smooth. Another reason why I'm not layering it up is because I'm actually have something else that's gonna add coverage, which is another tip. Because I actually find that when I apply too much liquid foundation, that's when my makeup tends to separate and get cakey. So I actually, when I want my makeup to last all day, I recommend going in with less liquids because they are the ones that tend to get cakey, you know, when you apply too many layers, at least for me. So this is what we're left with from the foundation. My skin looks much more even in tone. It looks nice and smooth. I'm really happy. Okay, so I was just going to look for my NARS Soft Matte Concealer because I thought I forgot it, but now I can't find it. I'm sure it's somewhere here. It's gotta be. But I literally can't find it and I only have so long to record. So I apologize, but what I was going to say is for blemishes, the best thing to do is use the NARS Soft Matte Concealer because it's just so creamy. It really is pigmented and I find it blends the best. But unfortunately, I just don't have it, so that's fine. I can use the concealer that I have for my under eyes. It'll work, but I did want to still give that tip. If you're looking for concealer for blemishes, hands down, that's the best one you can get. I'm gonna go with concealer under the eyes. I'm using the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, which is a satin finish. I actually like this one better than the original. I find it's easier to work with. It doesn't dry as fast, and I also find that it looks less dry. I find it's less inclined to get cakey. Now I love the original, so if you do prefer full coverage, more matte finish, then that's obviously the one you're gonna go with. But I just find that this one, even for my combination skin, doesn't get cakey. It looks so natural on the skin, a little bit more natural than the original, and it also just, I think, blends easier for me, and so that's why I absolutely love this guy. And it lasts all day, and the coverage is still really, really good. So we're going in with it. Because I have a lighter coverage on the foundation, we're gonna go in a little heavier with concealer, but because this is one that I know is super natural and lightweight, I know I can go in with this much and it's not gonna get cakey. And I do use my beauty blender because it's my apps. I honestly don't think I would ever use anything other than my beauty blender for my under eyes, or a sponge, I mean, because I do have other sponges from different brands that I really like as well. Very few, but there are a couple other brands that I like that are comparable to the beauty blender one. And I'm bringing the excess from down here. Once I blend it in, if there's excess, I bring it up onto these blemishes. Let's move on. We're gonna do cream contour. One I'm loving, 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 loving right now is the Kaja Sculpting Trio, and I really like the cream contour from here, so I'm gonna go into that. I'm gonna go in with my Patrick Ta Contour 1 brush. See how pigmented that is? But it's so blendable. just kind of buff those edges. I also sometimes like to, especially in the summer, I wear a lot of more tank tops. I'm showing a lot more of my neck and my décolleté. So I like to actually bring some contour, go from behind the ear, and see how like there's this muscle, is it? Anatomy, what is that? I bring it down, and then just you want to make sure that you kind of buff it this way and this way so you don't look like you have like a stripe. But then it kind of contours your neck as well. Do you see how on this side it kind of looks a little bit slimmer? Not that I really work, like I don't ever care about looking slimmer per se. I just think I like the look of a contoured look. And then I just kind of make sure everything's blended. So we're all good to go in that sense. I am actually going to also use a cream blush because again, as I said, I'm just obsessed with creams lately. I'm going for a little bit of a warmer look today. So I'm actually going to go in with my Melt Cosmetics cream blush light in the shade Honey Thief. It's a stunning formula. It's long wearing. It doesn't fade. It's pigmented and it's blendable. So I really recommend it. And I like to go in with my sponge. Like, doesn't that just look stunning? It just looks like lit from within, that beautiful natural flush of color. And I do find this one is pretty good on top of powder. You have to be obviously careful when you're applying creams on top of powder, whether they're good quality or not. If you're a little bit more careful, like just maybe be familiar with the product first, because if you go in with too much, it's going to be much harder to blend. Like you're going to have a lot less blending room. You kind of want to go in really light and just slowly build. And then that way you don't have to blend as much. Now let's go ahead and set it all in. I really, really love this powder for summer, really all year round, but especially for summer when, you know, you're sweating more, you're getting more oily, because it is a good mattifying powder. This is the Too Faced Peach Perfect to really lock that in, because then I'm actually going to go in with my One Size powder foundation. I really love this because it wears all day long. I had to include this in this video because it is one of my most long wearing foundations. You can wear it on its own. You can just apply concealer under your eyes and wherever else you want. And then just to pop this on and, you know, build it up more. And it can actually get to almost full coverage. So it's really, really beautiful on its own, but it's also beautiful with more sheer application over top of your foundation. It just adds coverage. It's one of the most smoothing products I've ever seen in my life. I'm obsessed, so I had to. But I really also wanted to mention this one because it's so mattifying. It's perfect for today's video. I'm gonna go in with the One Size under the eyes because it's so smoothing. And I wanna just get that in first so that we get that nice and smoothed out and set before they start to crease again. We're gonna get back to that powder. Let's go now in with the Too Faced. And we're just gonna do a bit on the forehead because I do get oily there. And then we're gonna also go in on the chin. And then we're also gonna go in on the like sides of the nose and the lip. So that's where I wanted to really conceal. That's where I get, you know, oily. Now let's go back. Is this making sense? And let's go ahead and set down the rest of the face. I'm going to wait till there's less product to go over the blush because I obviously don't want to dull it down too much. If you are dry skin, so I know I've been talking a lot about oils. If you are a dry skin type, obviously you're going to want to go in with not a mattifying primer. You want to get a hydrating primer, a glowy primer. My favorite hydrating primer is the Becca Prime Light, or I actually really like from the drugstore the Wet n Wild Dewy Photofocus one. It's really nice and glowy, and I do find it actually doesn't, you know, it doesn't break down my makeup. I still think this foundation is good for dry skin types. It's nice and, you know, it doesn't dry out the skin. And then this concealer also is good for pretty much all skin types as well. And then for powder, I would say go in maybe with one that's not specifically mattifying. You could probably go in with this as well. You could just do it all over the face because it really, really is not drying at all. It's so smoothing. It's like honestly the best thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm obsessed. I can't stop talking about this. It's my favorite. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows. It's really nothing special. I'm gonna just fill them in how I like to fill them in. Okay, so today's look is a little more warm toned, as I said. So I'm actually gonna go in with my Morphe High Impact Highlighter in the shade Lit. It looks quite yellow, but it actually comes off like a really, really nice kind of icy gold, and it's perfect for my skin tone. A lot of them look quite yellow, so going in with this one is just about the best I can get. It's exactly what I look for. This is just my Scott Barnes 66 brush. It's like my favorite for highlight. It's just like you place it on your cheek and like pull it down, and just highlights in all the right places. I even look a little bit yellow with today's highlight, but we'll tone it down a bit and it's perfect. Now I go in with my beauty blender, just bounce over top, so it's gonna take any like powdery finish and just dull it a little bit. Let's go in with the Rare Beauty primer. Like, I really love this eyeshadow primer. It's like all the things I love. It's tinted, but it's still thin. This is the Natasha Denona Summer palette. It is called the Zendo eyeshadow palette. It is the larger one from their Zendo collection. They do have a mini as well. It has a lot of warms and then it has those pops of cool tones. We're gonna play with the warms though today. So let's just first set the eye. I'm gonna just go in with actually a little bit of my powder, not a lot. I'm just grabbing a little bit on like a big fluffy brush. And I just like to set my eyeshadow primer down. A lot of the time, if eyeshadow palette has a cream shade, I'll just use that, but this one doesn't, so that's why I'm just going in with my face powder. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and do a look with this, and I will be speeding it up just for time's sake, but I'll still be showing you what I am using. So I'm mixing the shades Calm and Balance, and I'm gonna pop that in the crease with my Morphe R34. Now taking my Morphe E30, I can apply any product, but I'm just going to use it to diffuse those edges. Taking the shade Relief on the R34 and use it to further diffuse and warm up the look. I'm now going to take the shade Mindful on a Sigma small tapered blending brush, which is the number E45. And I'm going to apply that a little more precisely in the crease and on the outer half of the lid. Now taking the shade Luster on my finger, I'm going to press it all over the center of the eyelid. And now taking the shade Yama, I'm going to do the same just to add a little bit more of that duochrome effect. Taking the shade Mindful, I'm going to apply that across the lower lash line. And now I'm going to take the shade Balance to soften the edges. I'm going to take a little bit of the shade Luster, that gold metallic. Lightly apply that on the brow bone and on the inner corner. And just to brighten it up a little bit more, I'm going to use actually the highlight that I took for the face. Okay, so that is the finished look. I'm gonna go in with the Velour Pretty Big Deal tubing mascara. This is one I just recently tried in a testing new products video and I absolutely fell in love. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply that. Okay, so I am finished the eye look and now let's move on to lips. I'm gonna be using two of my favorite lip products right now that are very long wearing. First is the Huda Beauty Lip Contour 2.0. Not everybody loves it. I know a lot of people liked the original formula better. I personally never tried the original formula. So from my experience with this, I really enjoy it. It's creamy, it's pigmented, and it wears a really, really long time. So, okay, so I'm gonna go in and line. I have the shade Pinky Brown. Now the liquid lipstick that I'm going to be using is actually a little bit darker, but I wanted to show you this lip liner because I absolutely love it and it'll also just be easier to get that like crisp line. But this is the shade that I had to pick because it's my favorite from the ones that I got. Surprisingly, actually. The MAC Love Me liquid lipsticks, I'm obsessed. I use them all the time. They're my go-to. They are not transfer proof, but they have this beautiful sheen to them. They're like a kind of a satin finish. They feel good on your lips. They're lightweight, they're thin, yet they still feel hydrating, and they're quite pigmented. And and they last a really, really long time. So they are my absolute faves. They're not like if you're gonna be eating something and it's gonna be wiping across your lips or it's really oily, they're gonna come off. But if you're, you know, it's a day where you want a long wearing lip and you're gonna obviously be mindful, not like a big burger, these are perfect. I love this shade. It's called Coffee and Cigs. It's a beautiful, beautiful like brown, but it's not like a yellowy brown, which is I think why I like it. Like they just look juicy on the lips, but they're long wearing. I, you know, am not eating something really greasy or messy. These will last a good 6 to 8 hours before they really start to fade. Like they're so good. Isn't that just a stunning, stunning shade? I guess this look is a little bit fallish. It kind of has a bit of fall vibes now that I've added this dark lip, so I apologize, but I just love this shade so much. So I'm gonna finish off the look with some setting spray. I personally, being combination oily, I like a good setting spray that's gonna set down my makeup and keep it locked in. So I go in with my Gerard Cosmetics Slay All Day. It's really great for controlling shine and holding in the makeup. Okay guys, so this is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found some helpful tricks on how to keep your makeup wearing all day long. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time.